Welcome to another one of our open webinars. Firstly, welcome to our existing Totally Aesthetics groups. I only saw you yesterday, so hope you had a good day. Our former Totally Composite delegates, nice to see you all again. I see some familiar names here. And those new friends from around the world who joined us. In the chat box, if anybody's watching, it's always nice for us to see where people are. Anybody in the chat box, if you're somewhere exotic in the world, i.e. outside the UK, just please type in the chat where you are. It'd be lovely to hear. And also, feel free to give us a bit of a shout out on Insta or anybody if anybody wants. So today's speaker, we have the fabulous Dr. Miguel Stanley speaking live from Lisbon, Portugal. Miguel is one of the biggest names in aesthetic, implant dentistry full stop. And I'm so honored for him to be here today to speak to us about his something that is very close to his heart. And I'll let him, I won't spoil it for you, I'll let him talk to you about that. But I'm really excited. I mean, Miguel knows more about Miguel, obviously, than anybody else. So I'm sure he'll tell us a little bit about, his background and stuff, which would be nice to hear, just so everyone knows where he's coming from. But certainly, when you've got a dentist that has been featured in Time magazine, that is literally speaking in every country around the world on so many different topics, and has one or two famous friends he's looked after over the past. It's really an honor for us to host him here. So thank you very much, Miguel. And I will hand over to you, my friend.
Well, thank you so much, Monik. What can I say? I'm also a big fan of your work. There's a lot of people say they can do things, and then there's ones that say they can do them, and there are the ones that do them. And you've done it. You've outdone yourself. You came on my radar a few years ago. Christian Coachman introduced us, and I've just seen, the way that you promote high quality, ethical, minimal invasive dentistry, which is something that's very close to my heart, my team's heart here. The UK is very lucky to have you because, everything that you teach, everything that you train requires passion, requires an investment in good materials, good methodology, but it also requires something I will be getting into a bit of extra time to craft the beautiful work that, you're so passionate and you're such a great advocate for. And again, I look forward to in the future, if you'll have me back, to talk about cosmetic dentistry, to talk about minimal invasive adhesive dentistry. These are all things that are very close to my heart. We have awesome technology here at the White Clinic. We've been documenting our work for well over 18 years. That's why, Dental XP, all of these platforms, and everything you're about is close to my heart. Now, I really want to thank you also for inviting me today to talk about a different topic. And I think thanks to these extraordinary times that we're living in, it's a good move. So without further ado, I'm going to jump straight into it. How about that? So
yeah, my delegates are saying my head's getting bigger here, so you need to stop me.
Well,
right.
You know what? You deserve it, my friend.
Yeah.
All right. So can you see my screen perfectly?
Yeah.
All right, guys. So I want to again thanks Freshdental Institute and Monik and his team for inviting me to talk about Slowdentistry. And I'll talk for about 40 minutes on this topic and where, how, why, what. And then at the end of this, we can all talk a little bit about, your answering your questions, any questions you might have. And I'm certain that if during my presentation, Monik sees anything that would be of relevance to interrupt me, I'll be more than happy to be interrupted and to answer that if it's relevant. And Monik's a smart enough guy to know when to do that. So I've been practicing for 20 years, 22 years actually, and I've done over 200 keynote lectures in more than 50 countries. But let me tell you a little bit how I started. So I started back in 1998, I graduated, but in 1999, I built my very first dental practice by myself, no partners. And back then, there was very little information online. It was a difficult time because there was no benchmarking. I didn't really know what to do. But I knew one thing, that good service would make a difference. I was just so insecure about failing as a business person. I thought, you know what? I might not be the best dentist in the world, but I definitely want to give a great experience. So you can see in the bottom left side of the screen, you can see I had a beautiful operatory where we're using digital x-rays, RVG x-ray, already back in 1999. So almost 21 years ago, I was already using digital technology in my practice. And that's why I'm such an advocate for these things. Now, a little bit of cheating here. In 2005, I managed to pitch and sell a TV show to the #1 primetime TV station in Portugal. Portugal has a population of about 10 million people, and this went on the air in 2006. Now, you can understand that 2006, you didn't have streaming, you didn't have YouTube, you didn't have Netflix. So people pretty much watched television at home. This was on air on a Saturday night at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. So, prime time slot. And here we were doing total makeovers. This is just one of the many cases. Look at that woman's face there. She had these teeth in the morning. So my background as a prosthodontist, implant surgeon, cosmetic dentist, I was doing immediate loading back already in 2015. And in this case, that's what we did with this patient. So I'm a full arch restorative dentist, meaning I don't do single tooth dentistry. I've always been about restoring the full smile, and occlusion was my main objective. If you've got a good occlusion, then you'll have a long-lasting result. And as a consequence of that, became quite a celebrity in my country. And not only because, you can see even in Japan, a lot of the stuff that we did got out. And, I was always a very big advocate of promoting high quality dentistry to the end consumer. So we were in, a lot of magazines. It was incredible. And then as a result, I guess, of that success, because making quite a lot of money back then, I did 3 seasons of that TV show. So from 2006, 7, and 8. And you can probably imagine what that did for my practice. I mean, talk about an unfair competitive advantage. I built this place that you can see. So this is 2,700 square meters of dental clinic. We also had plastic surgery in there, cosmetic surgery, dermatology. We had a hair transplant unit, MaxFac. I've been using CBCT since 2008 for all of our patients. We had 14 operatories in this place. I mean, it was very, very high end. We had clients flying in from all over the world. This is a little bit more inside. We had a training facility. We were already using digital milling, all of that. Back in 2009, that's when we built that. Almost 11 years ago. And in that facility, we then filmed 2 seasons of my last TV show for the public on makeovers, which was called Dr. White, which was the name of my clinic. And we were showing how advanced dentistry can change people's lives. That was a huge success. And somehow I got on the radar of the people at CBS in Hollywood. And I flew out to Hollywood and did this. So I got to go on The Doctors on CBS in California. And that was a lot of fun. That show was seen in 100 countries around the world. And all of this, making sure that I was focusing on quality dentistry for my providers. I was very lucky to do the very first documentary ever for National Geographic. And if you want to watch this documentary, it came out in 2018, early 2019. It actually aired on Nat Geo in the UK. Just go to Miguel Stanley. If you go to YouTube and you put Miguel Stanley National Geographic, you can watch this. And if you're as passionate about dentistry as I am, I'm sure you'll really enjoy watching this documentary. And also, I guess, one of the things that has allowed me to do is to treat really cool people and have such an impact. I guess the most seen smile in the world. And I'm very lucky to have been doing this with a lot of people. But it's not just the famous people that matter. I don't know if you remember that top left corner of the video. That's the patient of my very first TV show in 2006. So we started treating her in 2005. My current practice 14 years later. What does that tell you? It tells you that we have a very, very high quality approach to doing things. Dentistry is not about showing off. It's actually about taking care of your patients. So for me, true success is measured in the longevity of each case you treat, the happiness you generate for yourself and your team, and not just in every pound that you can make. And I want this to be a very strong take-home message for everybody today, that if you want to be really successful in dentistry, never make it about the money. It's a big problem a lot of people make. They make, well, how can I make money from this? That should be a consequence, not an objective. So I work at the White Clinic in Lisbon, Portugal, and you can visit that as well. I'm sure just Google me, it'll pop up. And we're very lucky to have a lot of awesome technology in our clinic. We're considered one of the most advanced private practices in the world. And if you go to trade shows anywhere on the planet, you'll see that industry is tending towards digital. There's a lot of things coming out, artificial intelligence, lasers, we've got it all. But there's one thing that all of this technology requires is time for you to actually learn how to use it, the learning curve, and even to implement it in your daily workflow. I've seen a lot of people go out and buy an intraoral scanner and then not use it because they don't have the time in their business workflow to actually incorporate a scan. So a scanner makes things faster, but the acquisition of a good intraoral scan with the occlusion, setting up the computer, putting up an Optogate, making sure your patient understands what you're doing, that's going to take longer than a silicon impression. So what you can do with an intraoral scan is a lot better and makes things faster and easy to communicate. But what we're going to be talking about today is the concept of time in quality. So of course, technologies, the evolution has improved technologies, techniques, and softwares, but has dentistry really changed? If you look at what the companies are marketing, and then you look at what's really happening in dentistry around the world, I see this disconnect. But I'm lucky enough to work with guys like Monik at Fresh, and the truth is, it shouldn't be something that is so difficult to attain. And I've been trying to wrap my head around for years. Why are some dentists better than others? And why are some people succeeding more than others? And what I really wanted to talk about today with you guys, and that was just to try and establish a little bit about who I am and what I do. And I want to thank Monik as well for making sure I introduced myself a little bit. But I have a very strong background in very, very advanced dentistry. And my patients are high-tier patients. I'm not a cheap clinic. I'm 100% private. I've never had any governmental institution tell me how I should practice my dentistry. And I know that's a big issue on the NHS. You have an institution telling you how you have to operate. I personally am against that. I understand a lot of people need to make a living. But at the end of the day, we all should know that it's biology and science and mechanics that dictate success in dentistry. So we'll get back to that in a bit. Why do people come to the dentist? They'll come for a random checkup, emergency pain therapy, cosmetics, orthodontics, missing teeth. They've had an accident. They come to get a second opinion, bad breath, implants, bleaching, some variations of all of this. A lot of my patients come for a combination of all of this. At the end of the day, everybody wants a beautiful, healthy, and affordable lifelong smile. So what's affordable for patient A, if that guy's making £1,000 a month versus a guy's making £100,000 a month, is different. Do you understand? So finance has a huge role in dentistry, but we should separate the two. We shouldn't sell dentistry for a financial thing only. We should sell quality dentistry always. And for many, many years, this has been a big mystery to everybody, how to do that. And if you actually think about it, and just to be clear, this presentation is for you, so that you will know how to think, or at least some of this, how to rethink or process new ideas tomorrow. So go back to work tomorrow. I want to look at my profession a little bit different. That's all I want to do, and that's all we're here to do today, is just give a little bit of new ideas. So if you think about it, your patients that catch an Uber to come to work, or come to your clinic, that Uber driver will know more about you, and you will know more about the Uber driver than you know about the patient that walks into your practice. And here you are about to go in and do something that can, if you don't do a good job, let's say on a root canal or an extraction, they could have consequences that could affect their health, their immune system for the rest of their lives. If you don't do a nice cosmetic restoration at the front, that's going to affect their self-esteem. You can affect them psychologically, physically, mechanically. So the work that we do is very, very critical. Moreover, you don't know what that patient's bringing in through the door. You don't know if they're HIV, if they've got hepatitis. I come from the HIV age. I'm 47 years old. I graduated in 98. HIV was a big thing. So I've always practiced with an absolute fear of catching HIV and hepatitis. And that's why we've never seen a high volume of patients. But think about that. Every patient that comes through your door for all of these arrays of different reasons is a potential risk to you, your team, and to your family. So who can come to us? What kind of patient is a dental patient? Young, old, poor, rich, illiterate, or highly educated? Not so intelligent, highly intelligent. Somebody with no dental treatment ever. I call them a dental virgin. Or lots of treatments. Somebody who's mentally stable or highly unstable on anxiolytics, antidepressants. Somebody who's schizophrenic, somebody who lives close by or somebody who lives far away. There's a very different dynamic to treating people that travel to come and see you. I have patients that catch a plane to come and see me. Your temporaries have to be fantastic. Person that's got lots of spare time, loves to talk, wants to chat, or a CEO of a Fortune 500 company that's no spare time, healthy or sick, easy person, a difficult person, polite or rude, somebody who's fully private or somebody that's covered with the NHS or an insurance company, somebody who's hygienic, somebody, who's dirty. I hate patients that come in that haven't showered and it's smoke and don't brush their teeth. I don't want to treat people like that. I don't have to treat people like that. Opens the mouth well, doesn't open. You can have the nicest patient in the world. That's the sweetest, kindest person. But if they don't open their mouth well, you're not going to do a great dentistry on that person. Somebody who's very calm, somebody who's quite nervous, or a male or a female or any gender. I don't want to ignore other genders. So every single variation of this is possible, of people you don't know that come to see you for an incredible different array of possibilities. No wonder our job is so stressful. So just think about that. We've got one of the most crazy jobs in the world. We're allowed to do so many different things on so many different types of people. I know, if you think about it, a psychologist doesn't have that big of a variation. A brain surgeon doesn't have that much of a bigger variation. A cardiologist, a pneumologist, a neurologist, a physiotherapist, but a dentist does. A dentist can do cosmetics, can do single tooth, can do full mouth, can do surgeries, can do mechanics, can do occlusion, orthodontics. It's crazy. So we're trained to do all of these things, but if you think about it, 2/3 of the stress that we have with our patients are their emotional status and the financial issues that are associated to any complex treatment. Because let's face it, not everybody can afford the dentistry they need. And everybody's happy with the dentistry they get. And on top of it, we've got one of the worst publicized jobs in the world. Hollywood treats us terribly. Every time you go to Hollywood and, you see a movie on Hollywood, the dentist is a stressed out guy by himself with, he's never the James Bond of a movie, And I think that the narrative of dentistry collectively is very, very bad. And I think that one of the reasons why we should think collectively as, there's probably 2 to 2.5 million dentists in the world. We should all come together and help change that narrative. And I think that dentists that only focus on the financial aspects of dentistry, or companies that only focus on finance, need to change that narrative a little bit, because we really can change people's lives. So, of course, what we're not trained to do, clinical management, negotiation, customer relation management, marketing, all of these things that come with running a dental practice. Now, I'm sure a lot of you watching this would actually agree with me that doing the dentistry, that's when you get to relax. If you're, qualified to do the work that you're doing, because again, I'm against people that take on the task of doing dentistry that they're not properly qualified for. And that's why you should definitely, if you're doing restorative dentistry, take Dr. Monik's courses, because you'll be better equipped to succeed. So what do our patients ask of us? Make me happy. Do it fast. Do it cheap. Could you write something else on the insurance claim so that I can get my insurance back? They ask us to not be ethical. Oh, by the way, anything you do has got to last forever, but their own teeth that nature or God or whatever you want to say gave them didn't last their lifetime. But now their artificial dental work has to last forever. If you think about it, a guarantee on a brand new Boeing is what, 2 years? That's $150 million aircraft, or of a Rolex, or of a, of a Mercedes or whatever. It's 1 or 2 years, but our dentist forever. Don't take too many x-rays. Don't make any mistakes. I want perfect aesthetics. No pain, and be punctual. And it's really tough. So we've got all of these combinations. So our job is already, and always has been, an incredibly difficult profession. And our patients don't care about the science. If we make a correct diet, they don't care any of the behind the scenes work. How much your training costs, how hard preparing for treatment is, how much technology costs, how much the lab costs, what type of materials you use, who pays for failure when things go wrong, how much managing a clinic costs, and why you take longer to do the right thing. They don't care about that, because at the end of the day, what the patient wants is fast, cheap, pain-free, and if you're nice, you can fool them. So I know that there's a lot of clinics around the world that have understood that formula. Let's just keep our patient happy, and they'll keep on coming back. Let's give them great service on coming back. But I'm all about doing that and great dentistry. And on top of it, safe dentistry. So to do all of these equations, to analyze all of this, you've got to be like a high performance athlete. You've got to be very acutely aware of your surroundings, because otherwise every single patient you could be walking into a trap. It could be a financial trap. It could be a health trap. It could be a legal trap. And I know that in the UK, just for the record, I am a GDC licensed practitioner. I am legally licensed to practice in the UK, and I'm a British citizen as well. So I've been paying a lot of attention to what's been going on in the UK, and I know that there's a lot of dentists suffering right now, being sued left, right, and center. And I think that, if we could all collectively come together to figure out why, then maybe we could help people. Because what do dentists stupidly do when a patient says, oh, I don't want you to do that, I want you to do this? We're so scared of losing the customer, the client, and feeding our competition down the road, that we do anything they ask for. And this is actually one of the foundations of my no half smiles treatment philosophy, which you can download for free on miguelstanley.com. So just go to miguelstanley.com, and there's a no half smiles webinar that I did last week for free. I've been talking about this for 15 years. It's critically acclaimed. It's a treatment philosophy. If a patient doesn't want to treat everything, the whole problem, I personally refuse to treat them. So that's where I'm coming from. All right. And I am a private practitioner. I get to make those. I understand a lot of you can't. I'm not saying you have to do everything my philosophies, but even if you can just do a little bit of it, I'm sure you'll help to reduce a lot of your stress in dentistry. And if you think about it, what can unwanted patients do? Cost you thousands of, here it's dollars, this is for an American audience, thousands of pounds a year. You can get sued, your insurance policies goes up, it's crazy. So you really got to protect yourselves. And what things that patients can do when they're upset with you? They can not show up, be late, they can complain on your social media, they can sue you, they can not brush their teeth properly and lead to complications, or they want to spend hours on the phone talking to you, but why? They can complain to other patients, smoke after a surgery, refuse to pay any extras associated. You've done a deep restoration. You've explained to the patient that there's a possibility that you might have an inflamed nerve and that down the road they might need a root canal. First 6 months, everything's fine. They develop irreversible pulpitis. You have to go in and do a root canal. They're like, oh, That's your problem. You did that. Now you've got to pay for it. It's like, really? You know, it's a really tough game that we're in here. So how can we stop unwanted patients? How can we stop all of this? Well, we have to filter better. That's just one of the things. We have to filter a lot better. The ideal patient doesn't exist, all right? And one of the biggest problems I've seen in dentists around the world is that most patients can't afford what they need. They don't manage their diet properly. They don't manage their oral hygiene properly. A lot of them have made poor choices with dental care over the years. And now they're coming to you and they want you to fix everything. And they don't really want to pay for it. And they want all of these things that I've just explained. And I just think that as dentists, we've already got all of these levels of complication, all of this, and such a high-risk job as described by the New York Times, one of the highest risk professions in the world. And on top of it, we've got all of this business. Yeah, it's really difficult. So one of the things that a lot of people do is they build clinics to fulfill their ego or to fulfill, I want to do this. And they have this ideal. So if you're in a practice, in a private practice, serve your community, understand what your community needs, and try and do dentistry for the patients that come to you, not just the solutions that are being marketed out there. Another way is to filter your patients a lot better. Deep psychological profile, and do all of this, full photograph, dental history, full occlusion checkup, facial scan, DSD, 100% background check, and to basically do your due diligence on the patient that comes to you, because the last thing you want is that patient to create any stress for you. And then, of course, when you want to treat the treatment plan, you set the whole family in a room, spend your whole day explaining, and then, of course, pray the patient has the money to do the right thing. But let's face it, that's definitely not practical at all, is it? It's just not. Because time is such an important asset. We've all got things to do. We've all got our patients and waiting rooms and all of that. And I just think that if dentistry is so difficult already, and now COVID-19 has come and put a cloud on all of these complications that we already had. And I'm sure a lot of people are nervous moving forward. So I will present a little bit of at least my ideas on how we can overcome that. So challenges to change in dentistry have been there always. So just to recapitulate, going back, we've explained that we don't know patients. Second, we know that patients can come to us for a multitude of treatments that almost no other healthcare provider on earth has. The range is incredible. Then the variations of patients that we had is incredible as well. There's a huge amount of cost and management involved that we're actually not trained to do. We're trained to be dentists, but yet we're asked to be managers. And that was already in play. And then on top of it, you've got now all of this digital technology coming in that's very expensive to acquire. Competition is going up. Clinics boosting up everywhere. These new things. Everybody's fearful of the competition. And moreover, you've got financial issues. You've got poor economy somewhere. You've got poor public perception to the stuff that you're doing is even matters. The high cost of technology, the high cost of postgraduate education, some dentists or professors that are people that are not willing to change from analog to digital, health insurances, the NHS's policies, or you have the same thing in Holland. I don't know if you know, the dentistry, the price has to be the same. I think I might be wrong, but for everybody. So there's a lot of government restrictions here and there from a global perspective. And now on top of it, we've got COVID. So if things weren't already tough enough, we've now got this cloud over us. So the way I see it is I'm going to talk pre-COVID, okay? Pre-COVID. There's no police in dentistry. There's nobody really controlling, at the end of the day, how you did that restoration. So for example, you're going to do a class 1 filling. Patient's got a cavity. You go in, you do your anesthetic, you remove the cavity. you forget to do the acid etch and the bonding for whatever reason, okay? And maybe the occlusion's a little bit high. There's no contact point because you're in a rush. Who's going to control that? You know, patient says, yeah, it feels okay, looks okay. Thanks, mate. I'm off home. And then probably he'll think that it's normal what he's feeling. And I just think that that's something that's always bothered me a little bit. And just, this is not the topic of my lecture today, but I can guarantee you all that within 4 to 5 to 6 years, artificial intelligence will be able to control the quality of dentistry performed. Meaning a patient will be able to go to an independent scanning center and rate the dentistry that we've been doing now. So it's probably a really good time to up your game and invest in courses like Dr. Monik's and any other course you can get to be a better quality dentist, because it won't be the GDC monitoring you anymore. It will be an artificial intelligence that actually knows what the right thing to do is. But anyway, I digress. So keeping things on point here, having all of those all of those situations that make our job difficult, and I'm a dentist like you guys. Don't you feel like this guy? Some days, don't you feel like this guy? And the metaphor here is you're by yourself carrying all of this weight with all of this risk, with all of these difficulties, you know, complicated patients, complicated dentistry, having to make critical decisions that could change a patient's life, the comfort level, their emotions, because dentistry affects everything. And we've got nobody to help us. And if things weren't already difficult, on top of it now, we've got COVID. So I know that my videos are have no sound. I'm sorry, because the platform isn't allowing that. So based on all of this, 5 years ago, I co-founded a concept called Slowdentistry. And what Slowdentistry is a accreditation platform whereby doctors, dental hygienists, young dentists, I know there's a lot of young dentists watching us here, and clinic and practice management, practice owners, they recognize that in order to mitigate some of the stress associated to all of these things that I've been presenting here, that they want to see fewer patients a day and focus on hygiene. So I'll explain in a bit. I'll go on the website and I'll talk you through it. But Slowdentistry pretty much has 4 basic cornerstones, and that are very, very simple. They're ubiquitous, don't require a lot of technology, actually no technology, and everybody can apply them. And every patient in the world can understand them. So the first one is never start a treatment without a signed valid consent. So that means you've explained everything to your patient, the risks and rewards and costs, and also the hidden costs to every procedure you're going to do. Easy, right? But if you think about it, to do it properly, that requires some time. The second one, and that's why here at our clinic, at the White Clinic, we never ever, I mean, like almost maybe not 1% for an emergency, we never ever treat a patient on the first appointment. First appointment is to talk, to explain, so they understand everything. And I will not initiate a treatment unless a patient has understood everything. I just won't do it because I want to reduce stress down the line. So the second cornerstone is never initiate a treatment until the anesthetic has taken its full effect. Every patient has a right to pain-free dentistry. So when an anesthetic is required, make sure it's taken its full effect. Now, people say, oh, that's obvious. Well, you'd be surprised to know that some dentists, when they're in a rush and their waiting room's packed, they'll try and speed it up and tell the patient to hang in there. And I don't think that's the right thing to do. The third one is to use a rubber dam. Now, I know most of you have taken the course at Freshdental, and rubber dam is a huge part of direct and indirect restorative dentistry. But I've spoken to endodontists all around the world, and it's an absolute consensus that the rubber dam is essential on 100% of root canal treatments. So if you're practicing root canal without a rubber dam, please rethink your strategy and make sure that you are doing that. It's a vital, vital tool to mitigate failure, complications, improve the quality of care. And the reason why we've discovered a lot of dentists don't do it is A, the patient doesn't ask for it, and B, it takes a little bit of extra time to do it. So make sure you're including that in your protocol. And the patient very soon, because Slow Dentistry are marketing to the consumer, so they're going to start asking for it, trust me. And last but not least, the one that everyone's talking about is proper disinfection protocols in between appointments. So what is a proper disinfection protocol in between appointments? Well, if you think about it, I've heard rumors, and I've spoken to a lot of people about this, that the average time for an appointment on an NHS practice is 15 minutes. Might be wrong, might be 20, might be 30, but just to be very clear so everybody understands, slow dentistry has nothing to do with the speed of your treatment. If you can do a direct class 1 restoration in 5 minutes, fantastic. You know the rules to do that. The marginal seal, contact point, occlusion, if you want to make it more or less aesthetic, fine. But what slow dentistry is about isn't the speed of your dental treatment, but about the patient preparation. Remember the 4 cornerstones: signed valid consent, anesthetic taking full effect, rubber dam, and proper disinfection in between appointments. That's all we're advocating, all right? And it's specific for the dental clinic and dentists and hygienists around the world. Why? Because we want you to slow down. The first part of my presentation explained, our job is a ticking time bomb. There's so many things that can go wrong. But there's one thing that we can control, and that is that our patients don't get an infection from the previous person. Now, we've been advocating this for 5 years, and people were like, yeah, but you know what, man? I don't really want to do that because I can't make that much money. I want to make more money, and I want to see more patients a day. But that's not what you were trained at school. So I've spoken to some of the biggest thought leaders around the world on this topic. And I can actually understand that before COVID, people were getting complacent. They were getting lazy. I can make a little bit more money. I can fit in a few more patients a day at the risk, you didn't have COVID, so maybe you could get away with it. But now you're not going to get away with that. The patient's going to want to make sure that you've done proper cross-contamination control. So if you want, very easily, if you photograph your screen right now, this QR code will take you to the dentistry website. On the news segment of Slow Dentistry website, on the top right, you can see that you can download these 10 steps for free, put them in your practice. They've been peer reviewed by some of the top dentists in the world. They're not going to cost you a fortune to do. And if you do these, I'm certain that you will have a little bit more safety, and you'll be able to offer your patients a lot more security. And remember, guys, it's not just about your patients. It's about yourself. It's about going home safe to your family. It's about making sure your team are safe, because God forbid that you wanting to make an extra profit, you got somebody sick as a result of that, and you didn't do the right thing. So if you guys were stressed about getting sued for doing a bad root canal, this is now a whole different ball game. So slow dentistry is without a doubt the new way to practice. And you guys have got to challenge yourself to change the way that you practice, because we love and we care about dentistry. We all want to make a living out of this. It's totally legit, but we really, really do have to slow down. So with that in mind, you can follow me here on Dr. Miguel Stanley on Instagram, Facebook. I'm very active on LinkedIn as well, and that's my personal email if you want to reach out with any questions. And again, if you guys want to go to the website of Slow Dentistry, can just follow this QR code.
So, guys, well, we've got some really nice questions, or a couple of questions coming in here. What we thought we'd do now is just take a bit of open question stuff on topics that are related. We have a question from Julianne Scandian. I don't know this person, but I think I pronounced that right, I hope. However, they completely agree with what you're saying, Miguel. However, working as an associate in a clinic, some owners are focused on the money. Being an owner.
All right. So who wrote that question so I can call her out?
Gillian.
Gillian. Hi, Gillian. You know, that's not the first time somebody's asked me that question. And I've had the opportunity to talk about slow dentistry. I always reserve a little bit of my lectures, and I lecture on some pretty big podiums around the world. So I've had people from all over the world come and ask me that. And I remember once I was on about 800 people in the audience, and she asked me this question. She got a microphone, and she asked me the question. And I said, and I later found out her boss was in the room, and she asked me that question. And I said, well, if you can't convince your boss that practicing ethical dentistry, because you know that we've finally won the battle of minimal invasive dentistry. If I look at the dentistry I was practicing in 2006, 2007, I was prepping very aggressively because that was the best of the information I had back then. And then along came, the guys from Style Italiano, minimal invasive, and all of the work that Monik is doing at Fresh Dental, minimal invasive, protecting your patient's enamel, the tooth structure. Minimal invasive should also not just be applied to the teeth, but also to, the life and the energy of a practice. Now, I digress. If you can't practice ethical, minimal invasive, just basic good dentistry where you're working, and your boss isn't going to accept that change, you might want to quit and go somewhere else. And I can't do that. I can't do that. Well, I don't know. Nobody can force you to break your ethical code. Do you understand? Nobody should force you to do that. And patients will always value an ethical doctor. I mean, I understand they'll put money first, okay? And I understand everybody's got to have a job. But we've got to do the right thing. You've got to step up for the right thing. Now, some of you won't, but some of you will. And I hope I can inspire the ones that will. And maybe, show them this interview. Because I can guarantee you, as the vice president of the Digital Dentistry Society, and I have access to more information than you guys can know, and a lot of it I have to sign non-disclosure agreements, that within a generation, artificial intelligence will know if that patient had a job that was well done. And I think now, in a post-COVID dental community, if your business owner is not focusing on hygiene protocols and a rubber dam and these things, which are cheap to implement, just require a little bit more time, and he might be out of business soon. So perhaps there's an opportunity there to inspire them to change. Hope that answered your question.
Brilliant answer, Miguel. So we've got a couple of questions here. So Raza, Shruti, with the NHS as an associate, UDAs is a big, I'm struggling. I think I've forgotten how to read. As an associate, UDAs is a big target. How would you say someone should manage it by not falling back ethically? I mean, look, I'd probably answer some of this myself, and I think quite a few of you are making the same point. I mean, ultimately, if you've got a target to hit and you are already at full pelt, then I think we all know what the answer is. The answer is find a way to reduce your target and make up the loss that you might lose here by just doing good quality ethical private dentistry, and hopefully it'll balance. But I think, I don't think there's a workaround. You can't balance all the plates, and do everything. At some point, something has to give.
I would risk saying, my friend, and see, I don't have a clinic in the UK, and what I'm about to say is my personal opinion and not Dr. Monik's. It's my personal opinion. I personally think that the NHS is not going to survive on this. They're not going to be able to. if safety becomes an absolute must, which it has to, then that's going to take time. And that means that people are going to have to see less people, and the whole business model is going to change. Because
I think the current structure, Miguel, is it depends on what protocols we are expected, but also what protocols are right to do. Clearly, the system in its current sort of version is probably going to need tweaking, and I think the government will recognise that, hopefully. And one good thing has been that you've got some really good positive groups finally unifying clinicians, because that's been one problem in the UK. There's been a lot of disparate sort of groups, and people maybe not unifying as much. I think there's a unified consensus now that people just want the best to be able to go back to work, do the best dentistry they can, and in a safe environment for everybody. And ultimately, I think people will realise, so I don't think the NHS is gone, but I certainly think the current system with the level of targets will need to be revised in the future. And they'll need to come up with a solution. I think actually this period has improved everybody, pretty much everybody in the country now is starting to see the value in a healthcare system. And because when we need it the most, we've got something. So I think it would be complete suicide for any government to ever abandon dentistry and abandon the NHS. But I think what they will need to do is rework the current model, because I think the current model will not work in the post-COVID era long term. Personally, was that a more PC way of saying what you were saying?
Well, yeah. Look, again, I've never practiced corporate dentistry. I've never practiced a dentistry where I was required to hit targets that were based on a financial model. I just only ever practiced quality dentistry as I was taught with the biological principles. And I've been fortunate enough to update my knowledge and know-how and experience over the years. So the dentistry I practice today is very, very remotely far away from what I was trained at university. But I can't condone using, in 2020, that amalgam fillings, these kind of things, but I understand that they have to still do that. But I think personally that the government shouldn't get its nose involved in the quality of dentistry. The dentist should be dictating that, not the public. Sorry, not the public or the an institution, the government. I think dentists know what quality dentistry is, and they should collectively fight. Not just in the UK, but if dentists stop fighting each other so much and stopped all the jealousy and all of this and said, hey, let's be friends. For once, let's get together and we're going to say no to the insurance companies and no to the government. This is what has to happen. You guys own it. I think to have a revolution, man. Use this as a platform to have a revolution. Dentists should not be asked to make a moral decision, be told you can't put on a rubber dam because there's not enough time to do it. Nobody should have to make that choice,
Yeah.
I don't think that.
No, and also let's think about it. Putting a rubber dam on does not really take that long if you actually practice a little bit. The problem is we pick it up in the cases where we think that, oh God, I could do with a rubber dam here, because you're not slick at doing it. I mean, anybody who's done our programs knows that, we make you do races with rubber dams. So ultimately, if you can put a rubber dam on in 2 or 3 minutes, I'm sure there's a way. And actually what you find is that will save you time anyway. So maybe let's not get bogged down quite yet in the how we're going to make it work. And let's just look at the principle and say, what would we want if my child or my mum, I'm leaving mother-in-law out of that, sorry.
100%.
So if our child or mother or somebody was in the chair and we weren't a dentist, what would we want? And let's then put everything else in the background and say, okay, well, we have to do this to make it work. It's like designing a smile. We know first the end goal we're trying to create, and we then back into how we're going to make that work. And I think this is the same. This is the panacea. This is the answer that we need. And how we're going to do it, well, that depends on us as a profession coming together, the powers that be helping us in that. And I'm positive that we'll find a way of making it work. If you look back at our colleagues in the 70s and 80s, they weren't using gloves. And the day they were told to use gloves, they probably all lost their minds going, oh my God, how will our business survive? We don't use gloves, blah, 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 blah. And now, think about it. You think somebody's a right grindbag if they start putting their fingers in your mouth without gloves. So I think, we'll find a way, we'll make it work. And I think it's a really, really positive move. And it's so simple. It's so simple and it's right.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm just telling people our message, so I think that the formula is digital dentistry in combination with slow dentistry. So what digital dentistry allows you to do is there's a lot less mess, let's put it that way, involved in digital dentistry. It's a lot more streamlined. A lot of things are actually faster. So chair time can be reduced in many, many things if you're using digital dentistry. And the time that you save with digital dentistry, you can invest in slow dentistry and patient preparation. So I just thought of something, Monik. You've got so many associates that have taken your course that know how to do the rubber. So I'm going to later and watch the space because, Monik, I'm going to speak to Nina Blattler at the headquarters in Switzerland and make sure that anybody who's done your course gets a massive discount to sign up to Slow Dentistry. And what we're doing at Slow Dentistry is we're marketing to the consumer. So whereas most dental organizations market to dentists, we're marketing these 4 cornerstones to the consumer saying, look for a Slow Dentistry clinic, because if you go to one, not only will you get good dentistry, but you'll have a safer experience. So I can guarantee you that much like TripAdvisor, patients will start looking very soon for dentists that can offer an extra measure of safety. So I don't think people will survive without that in the future.
So we've got a few other questions. We're going to try and take as many as we can, but it's tricky. So apologies if I didn't get all of them. Somebody said, Rashini Pushpa said, very insightful. I'm a dental student, and you said that robotics will come into dentistry to check the quality of dentistry. How will this affect the future? I mean, look, Miguel, a quick answer, if possible.
Okay. Well, it's not robotics, artificial intelligence. So today I have a CBCT in my practice. Carestream Dental make it. It does a facial scan. It does a CBCT. And then if you get an intraoral scan and scan the patient's mouth, the software fuses all of that together. So effectively, I have a patient's head, teeth, anatomy, gums, everything on digitally. Now I can wire that to the cloud, and it's going to be a very short jump before an artificial intelligence can treatment plan, and not just treatment plan, but can also analyze what was done. So imagine every single brand of every implant. It will analyze if your crown is over contoured. It will analyze if there's margins not filling, the contact points, everything. So I think it's going to be a very short jump of technology in the next 2 to 3 years where they can control the quality of your dentistry. And it won't be you controlling that. It will be an artificial intelligence, a service that a patient can go, pay their card, swipe their card. Did my dentist do a good job? And then red flags start popping up. So in the future, the Google comments, the Yelp comments, all of that, it's not going to be emotional anymore. It's going to be very, very technological.
Miggy, if you look at some of the stuff with dental monitoring as well, I mean, some of that stuff's there now. They'll give a little overview with the little capture device.
But without the CBCT is going to be the only way that actually becomes quite credible, because without, one thing's just dental anatomy. You can see soft tissue, you can see shape, form, everything. But it's the CBCT that makes you into a medical profession, because that you're looking under the gum into the bone.
Yeah. If you're combining CBCT with intraoral scanning, if you look at some of the intraoral scanners, I'm doing quite a lot of work with the iTero at the moment. And one of the cool things, you've got the caries diagnosis and things like that. And, technology is going to make us do loads more stuff over the years. So just as we get panicking about, oh, God, we won't be able to do this, we won't be able to do that, technology is going to make life a lot easier, and we'll find a solution. We've got a nice comment here by Senthil. Is there a future for hard tissue lasers as the aerosol is much less? What are your thoughts?
We have one. Yeah, it's a great question. We have one in the practice. We have an ERG YAG laser manufactured by Light Instruments. It's a small little amazing device. And yes, I've been coming into the practice doing emergency pain treatment and emergency therapy for some patients. And one of the great advantages of the ERG-YAG laser is less aerosols. It's faster, so you have less chair time, and its capacity for reducing bacterial load and stimulating regeneration incredibly. There's still lacking some studies on virus, on the control on virus, but we also use a biomodulation light that has a blue range UV light, which is tested to actually reduce viral load. And that's called the ATP38, manufactured by Biotech Dental. And we're doing a sandwich technique of both. And I'll be lecturing in French, though, next week exactly on that with some leading laser experts in France.
Yeah. If anyone wants to buy a hard tissue laser, one of our Totally Aesthetics course delegates, JC, who's these guys are like family to me, and she bought a practice and they've got two, and she's trying to sell one because she doesn't need two. If you do, follow her there. JC Nickel, it's backwards. Message her. She's got fantastic lasers. She keeps trying to make me buy it, but maybe I might buy it myself now, actually.
Anyway. Awesome, man.
Okay, so we got some other ones. HEPA filters. I mean, the air filtration. Maybe tell us quickly something about that. I think that's. Is there any specific one that you think would be something that we need to look at, or do you think there's still a bit more research needed in this?
Well, I created a task force at the White Clinic with 2 doctors on my team that because I have a research and development department in the clinic, so I actually have 2 doctors that don't practice dentistry on patients. They do cloud dentistry, but moreover, they do investigation. So anything that comes into my clinic has had a lot of due diligence on it. So we get a lot of information, and I can safely say that within the next weeks to months, there's going to be a lot of filters on the market. So these are portable filtration systems, like a suction system that will have a tube with like a parabolic antenna around them that will suck. These have been on the market now for 20 years already. And if you are a biological, or let's say a holistic dentist, and these have always been mandatory when removing amalgam for the aerosols that have amalgam and mercury in them. So they've been around for quite some time, and a triple HEPA filter can filter out virus from the air. The suction capacities are incredible. And I'm not going to promote any brands, but there's if you just Google them and try and right now, I can safely say that the company that I'm working with in Switzerland, they've got a 7-week backlog order. So it shows that everybody started ordering these things, and they might become mandatory in a dental sphere.
Yeah, we've also got some interesting little suction adaptation things that are being developed. We've got some clever guys in digital doing that. I know we've got Jesus Creo on our little WhatsApp group, Miguel, who's done the very nice. Yeah, and I'll ask Jesus if we can make that STL file open, and if so, guys,
it is open. It is open, and you can share it.
Okay. So what we'll do is I'll share it. Anybody on our mailing list, we'll send the link out to you on that. It's a special adapter you can put on your suction, and it can be 3D printed, and it will look really incredible. So we'll send you something. Give us a few days.
There's something to say, and that's a great idea, Monik. But I also wanted to say, which we didn't bring to today, in my practice, our hygienists, it's not just the dentist, everybody works with an assistant. So perhaps, we've understood that, for example, the ultrasonic scaler provokes the biggest amount of aerosols. And usually it's the hygienist who works by themselves. So perhaps that 3D device that you were talking about will help reduce the amount of aerosols. But one of the things might be to have, and I know it's going to raise the costs, but it's to have a second set of hands helping aspirate in aerosol producing treatments.
Somebody made a point of the ISOVAC. I think that's a fabulous little gadget, actually, the ISOVAC. And, you could use ISOVAC with another nurse. But listen, who knows what the future holds with this stuff? And I'm sure we'll get some guidance later. Guys, I think we just need to clarify the points here. With slow dentistry, remember, what Miguel's saying is we get consent. We make sure the locals worked. We use a rubber dam when we think we need to, ideally most of the time. And
proper disinfection.
Proper disinfection, yeah.
The major one.
If we look at the
proper disinfection, anywhere up to 10 minutes in between appointments.
Yeah, guys, realistically, somebody said, how are we going to make this work on the NHS? I mean, really? Come on, some of this stuff is stuff we should be doing already. And I'm sure we can find a way of making it work. Yeah, it might mean an extra member of staff somewhere across the building. It might mean we have to streamline things a little bit. But we're not talking sort of, major investments. So let's not mix up the two topics. We've got the slow dentistry sort of concept and the things we need to do, but then we've got the massive amounts of technology in the background. Don't merge the two. These are two things that you can adapt. So if you're in an environment where you're a bit hard up, it doesn't mean you can't put these basic principles into place. Yeah, those other things are going to make life easier for us. But yeah, for sure, you might not be able to go and buy all the technology straight away, but absolutely, some of the basic principles you can adhere by quite quickly and quite easily at low cost. Would you agree then?
Okay, 100%. The only investment you need to really make is time. If you think about it, it's not investing in something expensive. Right now, if you were thinking, for example, of investing a bag of money on a piece of technology, for the next 6 months, save that money, keep it in your bank account, and see fewer patients a day with a higher degree of safety. Watch what happens to your practice. Watch what happens. They're going to, oh, no. Go to that guy because he really takes time to disinfect. Watch what happens. Safety is going to be the new tool of marketing, and slow dentistry is the brand. We were there before it. We didn't take advantage of the crisis. It's a Swiss company that was founded in 2015. And if anybody wants to sign up, just go to slowdentistry.com. There's a membership lounge. But wait, because Monik, we're going to give you guys a special. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, so you can liaise with Alexandra, just let her know, and then Alexandra can mail everybody who's
man.
There.
Let's give everybody a special discount that has taken your course.
So, guys, the other point I wanted to raise here, just a quick minute to while I've got you, is some of you may have heard that we've managed to. We recently, just last week, launched our postgraduate diploma in aesthetic and restorative dentistry. We've got some fabulous speakers as part of this diploma. It's flexible. How it works is you do any of our programs, our totally composite course, followed by a totally composite maestro courses, which there's an anterior one and a posterior one. These are just one-day programs. And then our 13-day total aesthetics program. By the end of it, you'll be able to get a diploma in restorative, a level 7 diploma in aesthetic and restorative dentistry. We also about to announce a similar program for dental therapists, which will be super cool. Nobody knows about that. We'll just announce it right now. So if anybody's interested, I'll just pop the link on there, and we'll send on the chat now, and we will send you a brochure on this. So if I just copy that in, I'll just put it in the chat. You fill this link and you'll get the brochure on the PG dip. So please, if you're interested, tune in. Guys, thank you very much. Thank you, Miguel. Guys, just a quick one. Next week, we have the fantastic Christian Coachman doing his second part with us. It may be we have to limit the numbers on that one down to 1,000. Here, Miguel, we touched 1,000 delegates. We may need to limit next week's to 1,000. So once you get the link, please book straight away. Please only book if you're going to watch it as well, guys. It's just because of the platform we're using. But Miguel, thank you so much for everything. Really a pleasure having you guys. Thank you all for tuning in. And please keep in touch, keep safe, and look forward to seeing you all again at some point in the future. Miguel, keep safe. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. And if anybody wants to follow upcoming webinars of mine, just tune into my Instagram. I'll be posting. I've got a lot of webinars coming up.
Give us a shout on Insta at Dr. Monik, at Miguel Stanley. And yeah, if anyone wants anything, just give us a shout. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, man. Bye-bye.